Presentation is brought to you by the California Department of Education and WestEd. During the preschool years, children find a whole new world, a world full of language. Exploration of this world starts early. Even before children arrive at preschool, they have already mastered many language skills and are able to communicate in the languages of their homes and communities. For children who are beginning to learn English, preschool provides a great opportunity for language and literacy learning. Its enriching experiences are just what a young child needs on the way to kindergarten.
I planted seeds with my dad in my front yard.
You did?
In this video, we'll provide information about how young children acquire English as a second language and offer strategies teachers can use to support English learners. Let's start by exploring two common paths children travel as they acquire a second language.
I make a birthday cake.
Children on the simultaneous path are learning two or more languages within the same span of time.
Look, I make a birthday cake.
For example, Daniel comes from a home where he has consistently experienced both Chinese and English.
Can you say in Chinese? E?
Simultaneous learners go through the same developmental stages as children learning one language, but often develop a blended vocabulary of words from each language. Yet the language the child is most fluent in is not always obvious.
You can't make assumptions that just because the child comes from a Spanish-speaking home, for instance, that they're not necessarily fluent in English.
My family's names are...
You have to be able to see the child in different contexts with different speakers to see if they understand the full range and extent of both the home language and the English language.
La mente es muy rica.
And carrots.
Children on the simultaneous path will continue to develop both languages as long as they have consistent experience and encouragement in each.
You know, the fish is very good.
I know.
The second common path is successive language acquisition. Children on this path arrive at preschool communicating primarily in their home language. They know quite a bit about how language works. They just don't know how English works. When they need to communicate with others, they will use their home language. If they're in a program where their home language is not understood, they often observe and listen rather than speak. In this second stage, children listen with intent as they begin to comprehend the new language. While at preschool, they may not talk much during this stage, but they do respond non-verbally to simple English phrases.
Say thank you. No.
I like it. It looks very nice.
And some children may respond in the home language even when addressed in English.
Jennifer, do you like black? Yeah? You like red too?
The third stage is called the telegraphic formulaic stage. Just like sending a message by telegraph, children use a few key words to communicate.
They pick up phrases around the classroom that I call high-function words. high kid function words like mine and share.
Share. Share. Share.
It's those kinds of phrases and words that young children first use when they go public with their new language.
In this stage, children effectively communicate by using familiar words and short phrases. They may also use formulaic communication, adding a word to a familiar phrase. For example, the child may combine the language formula wanna with a variety of verbs to express needs and wants. In this stage, children use longer and more complete phrases and sentences.
At my school, we go, red, yellow, black, red, yellow, black.
That's a pattern.
Bigger carrot.
This is a bigger carrot?
They are learning the finer points of English and practice using language in more complex ways.
Has anybody here ever been bitten by a bug?
Though this first evidence of fluidity doesn't mean complete mastery, you can see they've made a lot of progress.
Yesterday, it bit me right here, and then two, and then it got me.
Ooh, that's a big bite.
Whether on a simultaneous or successive path, all English learners rely on adult assistance. To help children acquire language skills in a second language, we present 5 research-based strategies. By learning a few phrases in whatever languages the children speak, the teacher gives a tremendous message to the parents and children that she respects their language and is a language learner too.
It's important to respect the home language of the child because the child's going to continue to need to communicate with the parents because the parents will continue to be the lifelong teacher for the child. So you may have the child in your preschool classroom for a period of 1, 2, maybe 3 years, but the parent is going to be more of a permanent fixture in that child's life.
The clear message and the clear principle that has to sort of almost infiltrate the child care center is the idea that children's language must be supported. It is a part of their culture, their identification, and in the long run, their whole sense of self.
If we think about the child juggling their 2 languages, it's really important that the child's first language can continue to develop at home. Why do I say that? It's because the moms and dads and siblings in that family are the source of that child's information about the world, about where they came from, about everything to do with the world that the family wants to teach the child. If the parents and the child no longer share that home language, that level of communication can't exist for that family, and that would be very difficult for the child to overcome.
Very good. Muy bien.
When the child's home language is seen as a strength, teachers can draw on that strength as the starting point for many English language lessons.
When a child feels respected and that they feel that their language, their home language is important, it opens up a whole new avenue to tap into their learning because they are overcoming their inhibitions, so they're willing to take risks in the classroom.
A climate of belonging communicates to a child that she is an accepted member of the group, just the way she is. For a young child learning a second language, this sense of belonging is critical.
We want to make sure that the students themselves feel comfortable within the classroom. And one of the factors which seems to be very important is that the teacher is a caring, responsive person.
Many times, children are more intimidated to try speaking a new language than might be obvious. Strategies that allow them to experiment and practice without being in the spotlight help put them at ease.
Days of the week. Do you remember the days of the week? Yeah! How many days of the week? 7. 7. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Loud, but no voices. No voices. Pretending that we were singing loud but no voices. The reason I was doing that is I want to consider everyone in my circle, the ones that are shy, the ones that don't want to sing or say anything. So some of the children who are not singing, well, let's pretend we're not singing too. So everyone participates.
Teachers can also create a climate of belonging by setting up areas where small groups of children can comfortably be together, and places where children can take a break from the challenge of communicating in a new language. A climate of belonging helps children relax and gives them the space and confidence to participate in their new language. A scaffold is the support a teacher provides to help children build on what they already know. There are many scaffolding strategies that teachers can use to guide children toward a higher level of language competence. One way to do this is for teachers to use familiar activities as scaffolds. When children are given opportunities to build on their existing knowledge, words in their new language are more easily mastered because they are linked to familiar concepts.
We'll do the hokey pokey and we'll act it out and we'll sing it, and then I'll do it in English for them. So then they start playing it in English and they know the movements and they add the words, so they participate more in the English and it kind of flows them in.
What is particularly effective in this example is the mix of scaffolds. The teacher uses movement, music, and gestures along with a home language to help the children build connections between words and their meanings.
What's Jose using for hands?
Presenting concepts through a multi-sensory approach also helps children comprehend what is being introduced to them and provides children with a familiar experience from which to build their English vocabulary.
If they've had experience with a calabaza in their primary language, oh, a calabaza, this is a pumpkin. They said, oh, yes, I remember a pumpkin. Well, it's a pumpkin. Well, they've seen a pumpkin, and usually I try to present it so that they see the pumpkin, they touch the pumpkin, we open the pumpkin, there's seeds in the pumpkin, there's pulp, we eat pumpkin pie, we might go to the pumpkin patch.
Familiar activities and movements, multi-sensory experiences, and links to the home language are just a few examples of scaffolds. By building on what the child knows, teachers can open up new possibilities for learning and communicating.
It's making me kind of hungry. How about you?
The children's words, ideas, and actions provide a great starting point for teachers to enrich both oral language and vocabulary. For example, teachers can build on what the child says by asking questions, adding information, and using complete sentences.
If we threw it in the air, what would happen?
This allows the children to hear both new vocabulary and sentence structure.
Hot outside to get wet.
I like to get wet in the pool.
In the pool, yeah.
Just talking to the children, asking them open-ended questions, giving the children time to respond and to answer those questions for them. So it's just always constant language engagement going on between the teachers and the children.
What does it smell like?
Mint.
Another way to strengthen language skills is to name objects the child is interested in.
Yeah, in español es menta. It's very good for tea.
To make things really clear for second language learners, teachers should link the objects the children are interested in with the activities they represent.
Anthony, we're going to paint.
A teacher that I observed who did a wonderful job of this would, at the beginning of circle time, bring to the circle a representation of each of the kinds of activities that children could choose for that day. He would hold up one of these objects to say, who wants to go and paint? Or who would like to go to play with the Play-Doh? And the children didn't have to guess what these words meant. They didn't have to guess what he was asking for. If they wanted to paint, they would walk over and, take hold of the paintbrush, and away they would go.
Focusing on the children's interests is a powerful way to motivate and support their language learning.
Soup. What kind of soup?
And one of their greatest interests is playing with other children. There's a lot teachers can do to maximize the effectiveness of peer interactions.
Some sort of buddy system, for example, where they would pair up an English-speaking child with an English-learning child and then give them some activities to do together that they were both interested in. Letting the English-speaking child know that they need to speak slowly, that they need to point to the objects that they are talking about, and that they need to be patient with the second language learning child, that the child may not say anything back, but will enjoy being in the same social situation with them. And to compliment any child who does do this kind of activity with a second language learning child, so that all of the children in the classroom see that this is a valued part of being a member of the class.
Are you teaching it?
It's important for teachers to find ways for those children who are learning English to also serve as language models for their peers, so that their peers can see that the children learning English also have gifts and talents in the area of language development.
Mi familia, los nombres se llaman Marcos y César.
Grande familia? Okay.
Peer play provides many ways for children to learn from each other. By providing this housekeeping corner with plenty of interesting props, the teacher has set the stage for children with different languages to come together and play. Here, the one English speaker models words and sentences for her peers. She's also exposed to some Spanish. Encouraging these interactions and setting up the environment for them can be a really big help to second language learners. Let's review the 5 strategies presented so far that support the development of oral language. Honor the home language. Create a climate of belonging. Provide scaffolds. Focus on the child's interests, and encourage peer support. These strategies will help children expand their language skills and vocabulary, both essential as they move toward literacy. From early in life, children engage in experiences that prepare them to be literate. Words used and heard during play, early experiences with books and print, and links made between pictures and words all lead to literacy. Now let's look at 5 strategies that specifically assist literacy development. The first is strengthening a child's interest in print. When young children are enthusiastically exposed to print, they understand that reading can be fun and useful.
Balloon animals.
As they learn the different uses of print material, for example from a story in a book, a grocery list, or a road sign, they grow more and more motivated to learn to read.
Skates?
It's also so important for them to know that all these wonderful stories you're telling them and all these wonderful things you're doing and these faces you're making are being inspired by those little pictures and those little marks on those pages. And that really starts to prepare them for school because they're very anxious to be able to get the same sort of jolt without you from that book.
Colors.
Young English learners will come to value print in English and in their home language when they experience its usefulness in both their community and their classroom. Purposeful, playful experiences with rhyming and alliteration help children begin to notice sounds in words.
Who slithers?
Snail.
Yes. Salamanders slither.
Snakes.
Yes. Snakes.
This community volunteer uses alliteration in a fun way to help children become aware of words that start with the same sound. Another experience that helps children recognize sounds in words is to clap out each syllable of a word as it is said. The ability to pick out sounds is called phonological awareness.
Some children in preschool may not get to going that deep into segmenting words. However, they'll know kitchen has two parts. Kitchen. Or bread only has one part. That's already phonological awareness.
Experiences with sounds in the child's home language also moves the child toward literacy in English.
¿Esto? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Diego?
For example, researchers found that awareness of sounds in Spanish words is related to the child's ability to recognize English words later on.
Tomate.
Tomate. Muy bien.
Other research showed that the ability to rhyme in Chinese is related to recognizing English sounds. Phonological awareness is a critical step toward literacy. Just as important is the building of letter knowledge. Help with letter knowledge can begin with simple activities that highlight letters, such as songs and picture books. Teachers can further support learning about letters by providing materials for scribbling and writing. Here, Sierra has written her name using invented spelling.
And what are the letters?
Research shows that letter knowledge is one of the most powerful factors in learning to read. Knowing letters in any language that has an alphabet supports learning letters in English. For example, Samoan-speaking children use their knowledge of the Samoan alphabet as they learn the names and sounds of English letters. Experiences with letters in English and the child's home language contribute to later literacy.
Yes, good.
Learning words out in the world before hearing them during book reading is particularly beneficial for English learners.
And there's your little hole. Do you see that hole on the ground that I made?
In the garden, these children talk with their teacher about their experiences.
Did you like the seeds? What did they look like?
The lessons learned enrich and make more understandable the follow-up reading activity.
A little boy planted a carrot seed.
The teacher connects their time in the garden with words and pictures in the storybook. Revisiting a story a number of times through a variety of activities fosters literacy development. These children are also invited to draw the garden. Teachers can further enhance a story and repeat new words through reenactments with flannel boards, puppets, story boxes, dress-up clothes, and other props.
Stories with props in English because the kids visually can see the actions that are happening, and they'll pick up the story because they're watching props.
Bilingual books that have text both in English and the home language are very useful. These books can be read in English at one time and at another time in the child's home language. And all children, including English learners, enjoy dictating words or stories to their teachers. Having their own words, phrases, and stories written down makes literacy personally meaningful and builds a bridge from spoken language to reading and writing.
And they grew very
I was wearing a carrot.
And they grew very big as a dinosaur.
It grew.
Young children's learning is enhanced when they can link print with experiences they've had. Drawing on what is familiar will enable children to better understand and value the printed word.
Have storytellers come to tell stories in one of the languages of the children in the classroom. Have parents come and do activities in the classroom if they feel that their English isn't good enough. Tell them, no, I want you to speak your home language during this activity. I want you and your child to be the experts at this activity.
I suggest the parents bring books and communicate a lot with children. And maybe they can speak English and Vietnamese. And then if they don't know English, and maybe they need to show the children the pictures, the Vietnamese book and English book, and compare, and they talk to them a lot at home.
Another way to engage children in print is to show photo albums with captions in English, the home language, or both, labeled images of pets, family members, and outings lead to lively conversations and increased interest in print.
And Mommy works close by, so she can come over and see you.
That's my Daniel.
That's Daniel.
Photo albums and picture books also serve as great tools for the teacher, family members, and the children to make up their own version of the story.
And it's really important for teachers to talk to parents about just looking at the pictures in the storybook. Don't worry about the words on the page. Make up your own story to what is in that book, because that's building concepts, that's talking about books, that's letting children into the world of books in a way that is a precursor for later literacy development. And that doesn't matter what language that occurs in.
And asked, who will help me plant these seeds?
Let's review the strategies teachers can use to move preschoolers toward literacy. Strengthen interest in print. Draw attention to sounds. Build letter knowledge. Make books and stories come alive. And link literacy to home and community. These strategies, combined with the oral language strategies, go a long way to help children acquire language. The foundation for listening, speaking, reading, and writing is established during the critical early years. With caring and knowledgeable teachers, English learners will develop the language and literacy skills they need to succeed in school, in their communities, and the world. A world full of language.
We played with a big planet ball.
A big planet ball? Yeah. Wow, that's a big word, you know. Was it fun?
Uh-huh.
Yeah?
And we got to hold it up.
Yeah? Did Matthew get to play too?